It is a story of a very old time. There used to be a merchant at some place. He had two sons. One day in the evening, he said to his two sons, "Whatever dream you see at night, tell me in the morning, but whoever hides his dream, I will tell it to him. I will give severe punishment." The next day in the morning the elder son came to his father and narrated his dream. "I saw in the dream that the younger brother was flying at a very high height in the sky, and also saw that one of his plums was lost." Then merchant told the younger brother, asked the son what he saw in his dream at night. The younger son didn't explain his dream clearly to his father. The father tried a lot, but he did not agree. He kept saying again and again that I would not tell my dream to anyone. I would not tell it at all. The merchant called out to his servants and ordered them to keep him away from this place. Take him to the forest and tie him to the trunk of a tree. As per the orders of the merchant, the servants took the younger son to the deserted forest and tied him to the trunk of a tree. He suffered from the hardships of the sun, hunger and thirst, and then the pain of the ropes. Things started getting worse. Coincidentally, a young prince passed by that deserted place. The prince told the merchant's son about this. "When I saw him recently, he felt pity for him. He freed him by cutting the ropes, gave him water to drink, and then took him with him to his palace. In the palace, the prince asked him who had tied him in this deserted forest. 'My father got angry with me,' he replied. The prince then asked, 'What was your fault?' The merchant's son said, 'I had refused to tell my dream. Just because of this he got angry with me. Our father is a very strange man. He gave me such a severe punishment for the smallest thing. After all, what did you see in your dream?' The prince asked this. 'I won't even tell you.' The younger son replied, 'How can you not tell? I have rescued you from the clutches of death, and you are behaving like this with me. Quickly tell me your dream, otherwise something very bad will happen to you, and the prince will be greatly distressed.' I got angry. I did not tell this dream even to my father, and I will not tell it to you too." Merchant's younger son stuck to his words, and hence the prince ordered him to be locked in the dungeon. 1 year passed before the prince decided to get married. Decided to marry the princess of another country. The prince also had a younger sister. One day, while roaming around, she reached the dungeon. Merchant's younger son saw her from a hole in the dungeon and then started screaming and saying, "Princess, have mercy on me and free me. Maybe I can be of use to you. I know that your brother wants to marry the princess of a kingdom which is very cruel and cunning. Without my help, he cannot get this marriage done. He will lose his life even before that. The candidate has agreed to marry the princess. Do you accept the responsibility of helping my brother?" The princess asked. "I would have helped, but eagle wings are tied. That is, I am in captivity." The princess immediately ordered to free him from the dungeon. As soon as the merchant's son was free, he went to the city and collected 12 boys of his name and similar to his appearance. They were equal to him in age and height, and it seemed as if they were all brothers. Even their voices, hair, and eye color were the same. They were all wearing the same clothes, and the horses were the same. And then like this 13 riders set off on their journey. They continued for 1 day, continued on the 2nd day, and then on the 3rd day as well. And then on the 4th day, he entered a deserted, dense forest. He heard a very scary scream. "Brothers, wait. I will take a look and come back." Whose scream was this? Saying this, the merchant's son got down from the horse and ran towards the sound from a distance. He saw that 3 old men were fighting among themselves and saying bad things to each other. "Assalamu alaikum, elders, what happened? Why are you fighting with each other?" "Hey, young man. Our father had left 3 magic things in his inheritance. A cap which can be worn. One is not visible to others. The second is a flying carpet, and the third is fast-running shoes. For 70 years they are fighting among themselves as to who will take what, but to date they have not been able to decide." One of the old men told all the details to the merchant's son. "If you allow me, I will distribute these things among the 3 of you." "Yes, please do us this favor." All 3 spoke in unison. Then the merchant's son took a bow and put an arrow in it and left it on one side, then put another arrow and left it on the other side, and then the 3rd arrow left it on the 3rd side, and then after this one old man left the other side. Ordered one to go right and the 3rd to go straight, and then told them that whoever brought the arrow first would receive the magic cap, second one get the flying carpet, and the last one would get shoes. Merchant's son decided that the three old men went to the garden in search of arrows. Merchant's son collected all the magic things, and then he reached his companions and told them all to free their horses and sit on this platform with me. Then they all sat on that platform and started flying towards the kingdom of the princess with whom the prince wanted to marry. 13 flying lookalikes reached the gates of the city. Merchant's son told the prince, "We are your servants. Take me, we will be of great use to you, and will carry out your every order." So, the prince kept everyone as his servants and appointed someone as a cook, someone to take care of the horses, and someone for cleaning the house. In the morning, the prince got ready for his wedding. The prince reached the princess's palace to talk to him. The princess met him with great enthusiasm. The princess greeted him very well, and then asked for what purpose he had come. The prince replied, "I want to marry you." On this, the princess said, "Well, I am ready, but you have to solve my 3 issues. If you are unable to solve even one issue, I will tear your head from your body." "Okay, I am ready. Tell me all 3 of your issues." The prince asked nonchalantly, "Will I have anything tomorrow? What will happen?" "I will not tell you. Whatever I will have tomorrow, bring its details. This is my first issue." The prince came back disappointed and upset. When the merchant's son saw him, he asked why he was worried. The prince narrated everything. On this, the merchant's son said, "Don't worry, everything will be fine. Intentions in the morning are better than intentions in the evening." The prince relaxes after listening to the moneylender's son. Then the merchant's son put the magic hat on his head and wore fast-walking shoes, and the princess's dream entered the village. Now he could see everyone, but no one could see him. At the same time, the princess became her most loyal. The maid was saying that these people are precious leather. "Take them to my cobbler and tell him to make a very beautiful shoelace." At that very moment, the maid ran to the princess's cobbler, gave him the leather, and told the princess to order the cobbler to do all the work. He left and started making shoes. He made the shoes and kept them on the window. Merchant's son secretly picked up the pair and kept it in his house, kept it nearby. When the cobbler came to know about it, he started searching for the shoes. Within a short time, the thing disappeared before his eyes. He searched a lot, but could not find it. Finally, getting fed up, he made another pair and ran towards the princess's palace. The princess was very angry with the cobbler for taking so long. Then after seeing the cobbler, she felt a little relieved. She took the shoes from the cobbler and then stitched them with gold and silver wires and diamonds and pearls. Merchant's son also bought the shoes. He took it out and then, as the princess was doing, he also started working on the shoe in the same way and started working with the princess. After completing the work of making the shoes, the princess smiled and said, "See what feat the prince performs tomorrow." Merchant's son returned home, and after coming home, he hid his hat and shoes and then went to sleep. The next day he woke up the prince and told him to give him the shoe and said that this was the answer to the princess's question. After taking a bath and wearing good clothes, the prince reached the princess's palace. Many guests were already gathered in the palace and were waiting for the prince's arrival. As soon as the prince reached the palace, all the people where the princess stood up and took out a shoe which was shining with precious gems. She put the shoes on her feet and then smilingly said to the prince, "What do you think, prince? Your shoes are very beautiful." "Yes, but there is no pair. There is only one." The prince said, "Okay, it is very beautiful, but because of the lack of a pair, it is useless." Saying this, the prince took out another similar pair and presented it to the princess. All the guests applauded enthusiastically and said, "Very well done, prince," and then also said that the prince is worthy of what the princess is. Prince can marry. There is no need to be too happy right now. The prince returned home more troubled than before. Merchant's son asked the matter and told the prince to sleep comfortably. Morning intentions are better than evening intentions. The prince went to rest. Merchant's son wore a magic hat and magic shoes and then reached the princess's dreamland. The princess was watching her faithful wife and then called her and asked her to go to the royal chicken house and bring a female duck. Merchant's son also visited the palace. The servant followed the rule and went to the royal cockhouse. The servant caught a female duck and set out. Merchant's son also took a similar male, and he also went back after him. The servant gave it to the princess, and then the princess pulled all the feathers from his body and then added diamonds and jewels to his body in their place. Seeing all this, The merchant's son also did the same. Then the next day the princess released her duck in front of all the guests and asked the prince, "Did you take the burden of my riddle?" The prince shows his male duck to her. All the guests screamed with excitement and surprise. "There is no need to be too happy now, Prince. My third riddle has not been solved yet." Prince returned home in the evening more sad and worried than before. Merchant's son looked at him again and then told him to rest. "Prince, morning decisions are better than evening decisions." The prince went to rest. Then Merchant's son took the magic hat and put on the shoes and immediately reached the princess's dreamland. The princess was preparing to go to the blue sea. Then she sat in the carriage and started galloping to the whites. Merchant's son was behind her with the help of fast-running shoes. The princess reached the shore of the blue sea. Then she started screaming and calling the sea. "I came like a child," and then the evil sea giver emerged on the strong waves. His beard was golden, and the hair on his head was yellow. Then he came out of the water and came to the shore. As soon as he reached the shore, he said, "My dear granddaughter, I am seeing you after a long time. All my hair is tangled. Please comb it." Saying this, the sea beast lay down on the ground with his head in his lap. The princess started combing his head. When he fell into a deep sleep, the princess took out 3 yellow hairs from his head. The merchant's son, who was secretly watching all this, also pulled out 3 of the old man's hairs. The sea beast screamed in pain, and one of them woke up. Gaia started getting angry with the princess. The princess apologized to him and said, "I am combing her hair after a long time. That is why it is causing pain." When the sea beast went to sleep again, the princess slowly plucked out 3 golden hairs from his beard. Merchant's son also did it very well. Cleverly, he plucked out 3 hairs from the old sea beast's beard. He screamed in pain and then jumped into the sea. The princess said, "Now I will see where the prince will get the hair from." Saying this, the princess started towards the palace. The next day, all the guests were present in the palace. The prince had also reached the palace. The princess gave the prince 3 golden and 3 dry hairs. The prince replied, "What is so special about it?" Saying this, he gave a big lift with 3 standing and 3 golden hairs to the princess and said that this was a gift from me to the princess. She got very angry, and then she got up and went to her dreamland. She took out her magic book and started looking in it to see whether the prince had solved all the riddles himself, or if someone had helped him. In the book, she saw that the prince had succeeded in solving all the riddles. The employee merchant's son helped her, and then she came back and started telling him, "Send the closest employee to me. I have 13 closest employees." The prince said, "Send the one who is the son of a merchant." The prince replied that all of them were the sons of a merchant. "Well, if it is so, then I will call everyone here without your help. I will catch the real one," the princess ordered. So all the prince's servants appeared in the palace. "Which of you is bigger?" The princess asked them a question. "I am bigger. I am bigger." The solution was not easy. He ordered them all to drink sweet water. He brought sweet water in 11 common glasses, but the 12th glass was of gold. When the sweet water was presented to them, all of them fell on the golden glass. Everyone said that I would drink from this glass, but none of them could drink from this glass, and all the water spilled out, princess. She said that in this way she would never be able to trace the real employee. She ordered that all the employees should be fed very well and arrangements should be made for them to sleep in the palace at night, when the lookalikes had been well fed and were well. When he fell into a deep sleep, the princess, with the help of her magic book, found the real merchant's son. She found out and cut the hair off with an ear clip so that he could be hanged in the morning. When the merchant's son woke up in the morning, when he saw his face in the mirror, his hair had been cut. Then he woke up all his similar faces, and said that she should quickly cut off the same hair which had been cut off. After some time, the princess came into the room and saw that everyone's future was clear. She was very disappointed, and then she threw the magic book into the fire. Now there was no other option except to marry the prince. Then both of them got married with great pomp and show. A lot of preparations were made in the palace for 3 days. When all the feasts were over, the prince decided to go to his country with his bride. He sent his servants first. 13 lookalikes, as soon as they came out of the city, sat on the carpet and started flying in the forest, reached the same place where he had left his horses. As soon as he landed on the ground, The merchant's son said to his companions that everyone should bring their horses to one place. I will come right away. Saying this, he reached the place in the forest where he found all three magical powers. He had just reached there when he saw an old man from one side. Saw coming running, the merchant's son gave him a flying carpet. After some time, another old man came running and gave him a magic hat, and then finally gave fast-walking shoes to the one who came. When the merchant's son came towards his companions, his companions were ready on horses, and his horse was also ready. Then he started back towards his country. He directly appeared in the service of the princess and told her all the stories. The princess was very happy that her brother had got married, asked his son what reward he should give for this work, and he replied that he should lock me again. The princess tried hard to ask for something else, but the merchant's son did not agree. Ultimately, she was locked in the dungeon again. After some time, the prince reached his country. Here the happiness of marriage was celebrated again. Then the prince asked, "Where is my loyal servant and the son of a merchant?" The prince replied that he was locked in the dungeon. Who ordered him to be locked in the dungeon? The prince said angrily. The princess came forward and said, "Brother, it is you who has kept him in the dungeon. You remember that he refused to tell you his dream. Then you got angry with him, and you got him locked in the dungeon. Is this the same?" The prince asked with surprise. "Yes, it is the same. I had temporarily released him to help you." The princess replied that the prince immediately, as soon as the merchant's son appeared, the prince hugged him and started apologizing for his mistake. Merchant's son said, "Whatever happened to me and whatever I did to you, I saw all this in my dream. That's why I didn't tell you my dream." The prince rewarded him with lots of rewards, and then he promoted him to a very high position in his rule and gave him a place to live in his palace. Merchant's son also called his father and brother to him, and everyone started living happily together.